Have you ever chased a dream only to find it slipping further away? Have you poured your heart into someone who never saw your worth? Right now, I want you to imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind you, the weight of every lost opportunity, every sleepless night spent hoping, every tear shed over someone who didn't catch you when you fell. And in front of you, freedom, promise, your future. Today, I'm going to show you why chasing people, relationships, friendships, validation can keep you tethered to the past and still the promise of your tomorrow. But more importantly, I'm going to give you 6 powerful keys that will unlock your hands, lift that weight from your shoulders, and set you free to run toward your destiny. Listen to me, when you chase someone else's approval, you step out of your own story and into theirs, letting them scribble over your dreams with their doubts. I've seen brothers and sisters shrink in self-worth because they stood in the shadows of someone else's opinions, waiting for a text message, hanging on a comment, desperate for the nod that tells them they're enough. But here's the truth. Your identity isn't borrowed. It's not something you earn by someone else's applause. You were crafted with intention, packed with purpose, and sealed with promise. To chase after someone else's approval is like trying to catch the wind with a net. You'll always fall short, and you'll never feel the fullness of who you truly are. Think about the student who straightens her grades to fit her parents' dreams, only to graduate with honors she barely enjoys because those achievements aren't hers at heart. She's chasing a trophy that, in the end, weighs her down instead of lifting her up. Or the young man who trims his personality, tucks away his quirks, and molds his likes to match someone else so he can be loved. He's chasing a reflection in the mirror of someone else's choosing, forgetting that true love lands on authenticity, and it never fails. In that moment of acceptance, he wakes in the middle of the night wondering, who am I under all these borrowed clothes? The answer is always the same: a soul crying out to be known. When you chase, you give away your power. You pawn your peace on someone else's next move. You become a hostage to their mood swings, a second-hand version of yourself that only comes alive when they smile back. But what if you stop the chase? What if you refuse to let another person's fleeting interest define your value? Imagine standing in front of the mirror and saying, I am not on layaway. I am paid in full, worth the effort, worth the struggle, worth the laugh. Can you feel it, that stir in your chest? That's your identity awakening. It's time to water it, feed it, and watch it grow. Every morning we face choices that either reinforce our own worth or reinforce someone else's narrative. You wake up, check your phone, and you're either buoyed by your own sense of purpose or tossed around by notifications that make you feel like you've passed or failed someone else's test. What if instead you started your day with a declaration? Today I stand in my own name. I chase my dreams, not people's praise. You'd see how your energy shifts, your shoulders lift, your eyes clear, and suddenly the air around you feels charged with possibility. That's the power of identity unchained. And it doesn't stop there. And in the boardroom, at the kitchen table, at the coffee shop, your identity speaks before you open your mouth. It shows up in the confidence of your handshake, the conviction in your speech, the compassion in your eyes. But when you chase, you whisper, I will do anything to be seen. And that whisper turns into a holler of insecurity. People smell desperation like blood in the water. They'll either swim away or try to tame you, but neither will honor your true calling. Release the chase and watch respect replace desperation every time you walk into a room. Consider the artist who spends more time tailoring her work to please critics than to please her own soul. She's chasing approval from galleries, from influencers, from strangers scrolling past her posts. But the masterpieces, the ones that make you gasp, those are born when she stops chasing and starts creating from the core of her being. The moment she paints for herself, the world leans in. Your identity is like that. When you stop chasing and start expressing who you were made to be, you become magnetic. You draw in what belongs to you instead of wrangling after what never could. And yes, letting go of the chase isn't always easy. It feels like stepping off a cliff without a net because you've grown accustomed to clinging to someone else's validation. But here's the revelation. There is a net woven out of your own faith, your own talents, your own community. When you release your grip on the chase, you catch a glimpse of the wings you already have. You soar on self-respect, glide on genuine connections, and land on firm ground where your identity stands unshaken. So today, decide, will you continue to chase the fleeting shadows of someone else's opinion, or will you stand tall in the light of your own purpose? Will you keep running after echoes of approval, or will you stop, turn around, and see who's been standing with you all along? Your true self, unchained, unafraid, unstoppable. The choice is yours. But remember this, the moment you stop chasing, you begin to live. You've ever poured water into a cup full of holes, trying to keep it from running dry, but no matter how hard you pour, the water seeps out before you can even lift the cup to your lips. That's what it feels like when you chase after people's approval. Chasing textures, chasing lights, chasing someone else's affection. A relentless leak in the vessel of your soul. Every ping of your phone pulls a drop of peace from your heart. Every unread message, every overlooked comment, every hesitant smile by someone you long to impress. It all draws another ounce of joy away until you're left parched, desperate, wondering where your strength has gone. Imagine waking up in the morning, eyes still heavy from restless sleep, and immediately you reach for your phone. You scroll through notifications, social updates, group chats, relationship threads, each one demanding your attention, draining your focus before the day has even begun. You think if I just reply quickly, they'll remember me. If I post something witty, they'll think I'm interesting. By the time you set the phone down, you already feel fatigued, your spirit frail, as though you've run a marathon before breakfast. And that fatigue lingers, coloring every conversation, every task, every breath you take. I've seen young women tailor their mornings around what their ex posted, reshaping their outfits to match his new interests, adjusting their coffee orders to impress the barista they hope would compliment them. They tiptoe through their own desires, trying to sync their hearts to someone else's tune, only to find themselves flat when the dance ends. They arrive at work drained, their creativity dormant, their smiles forced, all because they spent their precious morning energy trying to earn a nod from someone who wasn't even paying attention. Consider the father who spends his evenings waiting for a call from his teenage son, whose silence he interprets as detachment, when all along the boy is simply wrestling with growing pains. This father rings the phone off the hook, pacing the living room, stomach churning with every unanswered ring. Every minute waiting is a tribute of energy to fear and worry, and by the time his son finally calls, the father is already spent. He's so consumed by the chase, seeking reassurance in a buzz or a ring, that he forgets to invest that energy in understanding, in listening, in genuine presence. You see it in the office too. The colleague who sends endless emails, CCing everyone they can think of, hoping for that quick, great idea from the boss. Each follow-up note feels like a drop of their worth slipping away if it goes unanswered. They craft presentations late at night, polishing every chart, tweaking every bullet point, believing that if their work shines just right, they'll finally hear the words they crave, well done. But exhaustion replaces accomplishment. Their spark dims. Creativity stalls. And opportunities pass them by because their energy has been siphoned off into anxious pursuit rather than bold innovation. Even in friendships, the chase drains us. You know the one who double texts when a friend doesn't respond right away, who frets over group text and wonders, am I still part of the circle? They laugh a little too loudly at every joke. They keep offering favors, trying to buy back goodwill that was never lost, and in spending all that energy on chasing acceptance, they lose the energy to simply be themselves, to fuel the very authenticity that would draw real friends closer. What if you refuse to play that game? What if you treated your energy like gold coins, precious, finite, unreplaceable? Imagine waking up and saying, today I will invest in my own dreams, not in someone else's approval. You'd feel the shift immediately. Instead of reacting to every buzz, you choose your battles. Instead of drafting 10 follow-up emails, you draft one powerful message and then move on with your life. Instead of refreshing social feeds, you'd refresh your spirit with a walk in the morning light, a moment of stillness, a song that makes your heart soar. You discover that when you guard your energy, you tap into a well so deep, so vibrant, that you no longer chase crumbs of affirmation. You stand firm on the banquet of purpose laid before you. Think of a plant that's constantly yanked from pot to pot, searching for the perfect sunlight, never settling long enough to take root. Its leaves wither because its energy is spent on survival rather than growth. But a plant that's placed in rich soil, given consistent water and allowed to stretch toward the sun, its leaves shine, its blooms unfold, its roots dig deep. That's you when you stop chasing after people and start channeling your energy into your own growth, your own passions, your own relationships built on mutual respect, your own moments of rest and reflection. And rest is not weakness, it's the secret to refilling the cup. When you stop pouring all your life force into chasing someone else's attention, you have the bandwidth to pour into yourself, to learn a new skill, to mend a broken relationship, to dive into a project that stirs your soul. You become the author of your own story, not a secondhand editor desperate for another's approval. You choose where your energy flows, and in that choice lies freedom. So So today, decide to plug the holes in your cup. Stop leaking precious moments on people who only sip your energy and leave you empty. Reserve your power for those who bring you alive, who water your spirit as you water theirs. Guard your energy like the treasure it is. When you do, you'll find your creativity reignited, your joy restored, and your future wide open, because you're no longer drained by the chase. You're fueled by your own purpose, and that kind of power never runs dry. You've seen it, a beautiful sapling in the forest reaching and twisting toward the light, its trunk bending in odd angles because it's fighting for sun rather than growing straight toward the sky. That's what happens to us when we chase external validation instead of nourishing our own roots. We contort our dreams to fit someone else's expectations, and in that twisting, our potential to grow tall and strong is compromised. Shishnell, who scrambles from job to job, fixated on the title rather than the talent. She hops from one company to the next, each time hoping a fancier business card will finally confirm her worth. But she never stops long enough in one place to learn the craft, to build relationships, or to deepen her expertise. When you plant yourself only to uproot at the first sign of discomfort, your skills remain shallow and your impact fleeting. You become a traveler in your own career, always arriving and leaving, never settling into the soil of mastery where true confidence grows. Remember the college student who piles on every extracurricular, every club, every minor, convinced that being busy is the same as being successful. She fills her calendar to bursting, volunteer shifts, intramural sports, leadership committees, all while squeezing in a few hours of study here and there. But in that frenzy, she never has time to develop any one skill or to dive deeply into any one passion. When graduation arrives, she has a resume full of lines, but no standout achievement to anchor an interview conversation. She's a jack of all trades and a master of none because her energy was spread too thin to nurture a single strength. Even in our relationships, chasing outward signs of progress can stunt our growth. A couple may post picture-perfect vacations and glowing anniversary messages on social media, hoping the world sees how strong they are. But if they spend more time curating their image than doing the hard, everyday work of communication, forgiveness, and vulnerability, their bond remains surface level. They become a couple of filters and highlights, never diving into the soil of trust, where the roots of true intimacy can dig deep like a tree whose bark looks sturdy but hides brittle wood underneath. Their relationship may look robust until a storm blows through. Consider the hobbyist who dreams of being a musician but jumps from instrument to instrument, believing that if he collects enough guitars, keyboards, or drum pads, he'll eventually become skilled. He strums a few chords here, taps a rhythm there, but then abandons each instrument for the next shiny promise. Without staying with one piece long enough to master its notes, his passion never transforms into proficiency. Growth requires repetition, patience, and a willingness to sit with the frustrating parts, the callous fingertips, the clumsy fingers, the repeated practice of scales until your hands remember what your mind cannot yet conceive. In contrast, imagine a gardener who plants a single rose bush in rich earth, waters it regularly, prunes the dead branches, and stands back to marvel as each new bud unfurls over time. That rose doesn't explode into full bloom overnight. Its petals appear one by one, each one a testament to care, consistency, and rootedness. This is your growth When you choose depth over breadth, purpose over popularity, you commit to one path, learn its nuances, face its challenges, and celebrate each small breakthrough. You become resilient because you've weathered the winter of doubt and felt the spring of incremental progress. Every day you make choices that either stunt your growth or spur it on. Will you spend your mornings scrolling through someone else's highlight reel, comparing your journey to theirs? Or will you spend that time journaling your own goals, practicing your craft, or reaching out to a mentor? Will you chase the ego boost of a like or follow, or will you chase the quiet satisfaction of one more deliberate step toward your vision? The former leaves you lean and atrophied. The latter builds muscle in your character and your capacity to endure. Growth is not glamorous. There's dust on the floor, calluses on your hands, and moments when you question if the effort is worth it. But let me tell you this, the deeper your roots, the more you can withstand the fiercest winds. The taller your dreams, the more ground you can shade for others to grow alongside you. So decide today to stop chasing every passing breeze and instead anchor yourself in the rich soil of your own purpose. Water your talents with focus, prune away distractions, and stand firm as you rise branch by branch toward the light that was always meant for you. You know that moment when you're walking down the street, head buried in your phone, chasing the next ping of approval, and you almost step right past the mailbox where a letter from an old friend sits waiting to be read. That's life slipping through your fingers. Every glance at someone else's timeline, every scroll to see who liked your last post is another missed handshake, another unspoken thank you, another possibility left unexplored. We hustle after echoes of affection, but in doing so, we trip over the real chances staring us right in the face. Imagine the barista who rehearses her smile for the customer she wants to impress, while failing to notice the regular beside her who brings her dog every morning and always asks, "How are you really?" She's so consumed with earning fleeting praise that she overlooks a genuine friendship blossoming in her very shop. That friendship could lead to a reference, a heartfelt introduction, or simply a companionship that brightens lonely hours. But because she spent her energy chasing validation from strangers on social media, she misses out on the blessing of someone who already cares. Think of the college graduate who spends his days chasing the perfect internship with a big-name company he's never met, skipping local opportunities to tutor underprivileged kids just down the street. He's convinced that a glossy logo on his resume will open every door. Meanwhile, his neighbor's nonprofit is ready to offer him mentorship, real-world leadership experience, and heartfelt gratitude. He's too busy drafting cover letters and obsessing over application deadlines to realize that the most life-changing opportunities often come wrapped in the guise of small local acts of service. You've seen it too in relationships. The young woman who pines after the person who ghosted her last week, replaying texts in her head, analyzing every word, hoping for one more sign of interest. While she's stuck in that replay loop, a kind soul she met at the grocery store, the one who shared an umbrella with her in the rain, walks by unacknowledged. He seems shy, maybe even hesitant, but willing. Instead of sending one more, "Hey, you up," she could have said, "Thank you for that umbrella," and sparked a conversation that might have led somewhere wonderful, but her attention was locked on what she'd lost, not on what was right there. Consider the friend who constantly checks the group chat to see if everyone's talking about them, only to miss the chance to organize a real get-together. The slip of a text that says, "Hey, Pizza Tuesday at my place," goes unsent because she's too busy worrying if someone else will outshine her. Meanwhile, her buddies end up at another friend's house, laughter echoing through rooms. The opportunity to deepen bonds, to share stories, and create memories face to face vanishes because she was chasing digital affirmation rather than creating real world connection. In the workplace, we see it too. A team member spends so much time crafting the perfect email subject line, hoping to catch the boss's eye, that she misses the chance to volunteer for a critical project that will truly showcase her talents. She's chasing the superficial marker of success, a great job subject line, when the genuine accolade, the one that matters on promotion day, comes from getting her hands dirty, asking for extra responsibility, and delivering results. The glowing headline in her inbox is nothing compared to the warm handshake and congratulations in the conference room. Missed opportunities pile up like unopened windows on a computer screen. Each one a potential breakthrough left blinking in the background. We chase illusions, likes, comments, fleeting glances, instead of seizing the invitations life offers us. Every unreturned text you anxiously stare at, every unanswered DM you interpret as rejection, is a door you never had to knock on in the first place. Meanwhile, other doors remain closed simply because you never bothered to turn the key. But here's the revelation. Opportunity isn't magic. It doesn't arrive only on red carpets or behind velvet ropes. It's hiding in plain sight. In the morning greetings you give your neighbors, in the extra hour you spend learning a new skill rather than refreshing your feed, in the courage to say thank you to the stranger who held the door for you. It's offered whenever you choose to show up fully in your life instead of chasing a shadow. So stop chasing appetites that will never be satisfied. Turn your head from the glowing screen and look at the faces around you. Notice the old coworker who just sent you a quick, "Hey, how have you been?" in your email. That could be a network connection that leads to a dream role. Notice the parent volunteering at your child's school. You could join forces to make a real impact in your community. Notice the voice in your own mind that says, "I have something to offer right here, right now." Answer that voice. Every moment you invest in the chase of hollow affirmation is a moment stolen from the rich tapestry of real life possibilities. But the moment you decide to open your eyes and heart to what's in front of you, you become a magnet for opportunity. Doors begin to open you didn't even know existed, and you find yourself stepping into rooms of growth, connection, and purpose you'd never dreamed possible. Don't let the next chance slip past you while you chase someone else's approval, because your future is waiting in the moments you choose to engage, to reach out, and to seize what's right within arm's reach. When the storms of life rage around you, when rejection bites, when criticism stings, when the world seems determined to tell you that you aren't enough, it can feel like you're adrift on a storm-tossed sea, clutching at life rafts made of other people's approval. But there is a harbor that never fails, a foundation unshakable by circumstance, and that is the divine love in which your worth is anchored. Imagine waking each morning with the unshakable certainty that you are not defined by a fleeting compliment or wounded by a temporary slight, because your value originates from a source far greater and more enduring than any human voice. Think of the single mother who pours her heart into her children and sometimes hears only complaints or feels unappreciated at the end of a long day. She might ask herself, am I doing enough? Do I measure up? But when she pauses to remember that she's chosen, cherished and empowered by the creator of the universe, she stands taller in her quiet moments. When she kneels beside the bed for prayer or breathes in the sunrise on a brief walk, she recharges her spirit, recalling that her worth is declared by divine decree, not by her children's moods or the fleeting words of a passing friend. Consider the office worker who tirelessly chases promotions and performance reviews, only to discover that even a stellar appraisal can leave him restless and hungry for more. If he builds his identity on job titles and monetary bonuses, he becomes a sandcastle at low tide, crowded with the next wave of expectations and washed away when budgets tighten or bosses change. Yet when he anchors his self-worth in the divine, when he acknowledges that his life is known, that his labors are seen, and that his very existence has eternal significance, he can give his best without fear, serve without demand, and rest in the unbreakable affirmation that he is loved beyond measure. It shows up in the budding artist who early in her career received harsh feedback that nearly silenced her brush. She painted consciously for approval, her strokes timid and pale. But the moment she remembered who imparted creativity into her soul and that every stroke is an echo of divine image, her palette exploded with bold colors, her confidence soared, and her art began to resonate with authenticity. Anchored in the divine, she discovered that criticism no longer shattered her spirit, but sharpened her resolve, because she painted not for the fleeting praise of the crowd, but for the approval of the one who breathed purpose into her fingertip. Even in friendship, anchoring your worth in the divine changes everything. When you feel left out of a gathering or sense a friend's attention drift, the pang of exclusion can cut deep. Yet when you know yourself to be beloved by God, when you recall that you are a friend of the divine, you can let human friendships ebb and flow without losing yourself. You can approach others from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, offering kindness without clutching for return, knowing that the ultimate companionship you seek is with one who never turns away. Everyday, ordinary moments become invitations to reinforce this eternal anchor. When you catch your reflection in a storefront window, whisper to yourself, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and feel your posture shift as though the universe itself stands with you. When setbacks threaten to unmoor you, perhaps a relationship ends, a business deal falls through, or a health scare rattles you, let prayer or meditation guide you back to the truth that you remain cherished, held fast by love that transcends circumstance. Watch how your resilience grows when you face life's challenges, not as proof of your inadequacy, but as opportunities to lean more deeply into divine grace. And it isn't just about resilience, it transforms how you give love too. When a teacher labors long hours for her students and too often sees thanklessness in return, she might burn out, questioning her purpose. But when she remembers her higher calling, that she serves not for accolades, but from a place of sacred service, her compassion becomes boundless. She sees each child not as a critic of her efforts, but as a soul entrusted to her care. And in that shift, her work becomes a sacred act. Her prayers woven with every lesson plan. Her heart filled with an unquenchable joy that no complaint can steal. Anchoring your self-worth in the divine also unleashes generosity. The entrepreneur who started with nothing and found success can choose to hoard his wealth or scatter it like seeds. If he hoards, he fears loss because his identity is bound to what he possesses. But if he anchors his worth in God, he gives freely, time, talent, treasure, knowing that generosity flows from a heart rooted in abundance, not lack. He becomes a conduit of blessing, confident that his identity isn't financial but spiritual, infinite, unearned, and eternally secure. In the end, anchoring your self-worth in the divine is a daily decision. It's choosing to stand in the water of God's love rather than chase the ever-shifting tides of human approval. It's the secret to rising above comparison, to working without worry, to loving without limits, and to living without the fear of not being enough. When you root your worth in something eternal, you find freedom to walk tall, to face each dawn with courage, and to pour your life into the world with the confidence that who you are and whose you are is more than enough. So today, as you step into your day, pause and anchor your heart in that infinite love. Let it hold you steady, guide your steps, and remind you that your value is not negotiable, for it is written in the heart of the divine. Have you ever built your life around someone else's consistency only to find yourself stranded when they faltered? You know the feeling. You lean into their approval for your happiness. You wait on their calls for confidence. You hinge your every move on their next word of encouragement. And when they don't deliver, your world trembles. It's like living behind bars made not of steel but of expectation and reliance, a prison whose keys you willingly handed over. For years I watched a friend tether her every decision to a partner's mood. She would postpone job interviews because he was having a bad day. She'd cancel outings with her closest friends because he wanted to stay home. She thought she was showing loyalty, but she was digging a cell around her own heart. And when he left without warning, her identity collapsed. She had nowhere to stand because she had built her life on someone else's shifting sands. Breaking free from that dependency prison starts with recognizing the simple truth that you're not designed to pivot on someone else's will. Imagine a bird trusting its wings. It must flap for itself, learn to catch the breeze, and feel the sky bearing its weight. If that bird waited for another creature to carry it, it would never see the sunrise from the highest branch. In daily life, that means choosing your own flight path instead of asking people to prop you up. You wake in the morning not wondering what reaction your latest message earned, but declaring your own worth before the day begins. You press send on your plans without worrying who will cheer you on. You answer invitations with a clear yes or no according to what stirs your soul, not according to what keeps the peace. I remember a young teacher who depended on her students' praise to feel she was any good. Every returned assignment needed 5 stars for her to sleep at night. When even a single student scratched a note of critique, a misspelled word, a shaky calculation, she'd spiral into doubt, rewriting her lesson plans until dawn. But when she realized that her calling comes from a greater commission than any classroom applause, she began to stand firm. She reminded herself that the light in her pupils' eyes was a torque of her truth, not a lifeline she clung to. Slowly, she taught without fear, and even the quiet students started to speak up, drawn by the confidence she no longer borrowed from them. Breaking free also means honoring your own voice even when it trembles. A writer I know abandoned her manuscript draft because her critique group offered unsolicited advice on every single sentence. She surrendered her story to their preferences, losing the plot she had burned midnight oil to shape. She felt beaten, thinking she must not be worthy of silver linings or narrative arcs. But then she realized the manuscript wasn't theirs to rewrite. It was hers to birth. She locked her door, turned off notifications, and sat with her voice alone. In the silence, she heard the heartbeat of her story and remembered that the truest approval comes from letting your words fly, not collecting nods from every reader who passes. In friendships, too, dependency can cage us. You might be the one who texts first every time, waiting for the others to reciprocate. You might keep the group chat alive with jokes and plans, holding your breath until someone responds. You pour your best into those relationships and count the replies like currency. But friendships rooted in true soil don't demand a constant flow of validation. They grow when you water them with authenticity and patience. Try stepping back once, let your friend initiate the next invitation, let the chat go quiet. See who comes looking for you and treasure those who do, because they value you without a promise. Breaking free doesn't happen in a day. It's a daily practice of sovereignty. Choosing self-care over comfort from others. Choosing honest feedback over applause. Choosing solitude over symbiosis. It's answering difficult questions. What do I want? Who am I without their voice? What would I do if no one was watching? And trusting your own instincts like a runner training muscles to carry her across the finish line. You train your spirit by taking small steps, speaking up in a meeting without waiting for someone else to gather courage first, sharing your art with a single trusted friend before seeking a gallery's endorsement. Starting that hobby not because someone taught you it's cool, but because your heart dances at the thought of it. And as you break free, you discover a power you never knew you had. Your decisions no longer feel like debts owed. They become offerings to your purpose. The freedom to chart your own course inspires confidence. Confidence that spills over into every area of life, attracting authentic relationships, genuine opportunities, and a sense of peace that doesn't vanish when the phone dies. You learn that applause is sweet, but autonomy is sweeter, and that the deepest connections come when two whole people choose to walk together, not when one stumbles behind the other. So today, look at the change you picked up clasped to your heart. The need for approval, the fear of being alone, the habit of measuring your value by someone else's standards. One by one, hand those chains to the ground. Claim the keys to your cell, your talent, your voice, your faith in your own becoming. Unlock the door and step out into the daylight of self-reliance. Let the breeze of possibility lift you higher. You were born to fly, not to be carried, to soar, not to be caged. Break free and discover the unstoppable you. And now as you stand on the threshold of your new beginning, feel the weight of those chains drop from your shoulders and hear